All right. Welcome back, fellow Patriots. Welcome back to Patriots of the American Republic. You know, in our last video, we went over the decline of American pride in our country, specifically within the Democratic Party. Now, what's led to this decline? It's a number of different factors, really, and we mentioned some of it in that video. Our educational system has allowed Marxist teachers to teach our kids, the wonders of socialism and how bad capitalism is, which is one of many factors why our country is really hated by these people. But one definite factor that we touched on is loyalty and love and the lack thereof towards our country that has contributed to this decline. And that is a result of the open border policy that we've had in this country for some time now. From allowing people to invade our country to even legal immigrants coming in and refusing to assimilate to our culture, our language, and frankly, to abuse the system itself, which in some cases can be a national security threat. We see with foreign allegiances, these people are starting to hold seats of political power, and it's really dangerous in my opinion. Now, today I'm joined by a friend of the show, Adam Francisco, where we're going to be going over and discussing two major issues plaguing not just the United States, but many, many countries throughout the world. So without further introduction or without further delay, I'm going to introduce Adam Francisco. Adam, welcome to the show, buddy.
It is good to be back, Carlos. It's been a while. I'm excited to see some of these videos that you have in store for me today. And I am very ready to react to some good content today. So let's get this started.
Awesome, man. Awesome. It's great to have you. For those of you who know, I mean, most of you guys probably already know Adam. You can check him out, adamfrancisco.com or Adam Francisco on YouTube, right?
I like that URL, though. I don't know why I don't have that, adamfrancisco.com. I need to see if I can buy that from somebody. But yeah, you guys could search Adam Francisco on all platforms and you could find my content there.
Awesome. Awesome. You do a lot of great stuff. You're out there. You're mixing it. You're really brave in my eyes because you actually stare a lot of these crazies in the face and you're not rattled by it, man. And I respect that so much about you.
Well, wait till you see my next video dropping very soon. Might be dropping tomorrow, maybe today if this is going live tomorrow, where I did get attacked in Nashville, Tennessee by an unhinged black man who hated my MAGA hat and thought that I was rage baiting black women and put his hands on me. And really was a foolish place to do that because the police were only 50 feet away. And so I did get him detained, and I'm not sure if he was arrested, but all I know is I got out of there and I was nice and safe.
Well, that's good. Your safety is important, right? And these people are just so unhinged. It's unbelievable. But let's go ahead and get into it. So as we mentioned last time, President Trump initiated an executive order ending birthright citizenship for illegals and people who are visiting while pregnant. And then SCOTUS voted to keep the current interpretation of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution as it's being interpreted now, versus what it was originally intended, which was giving citizenship to freed slaves, right? So the modern interpretation has incentivized millions of people to come here illegally and give birth here and systematically obtain all the rights and all the benefits that every other American citizen via legal immigration or naturally born have. So in my eyes, this is a huge factor of why we see the decline of American pride and love and patriotism towards our country. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really only happening on one side. That's what I think is actually the most interesting. If you look at any polling data about proud of being an American, pride in being an American, pride in the American flag, Republicans have mostly been stable since the year 2000. We have not really seen any meaningful dip. We were around 90% back in 2001, and we're at 90% now in 2026, if not even higher. And you look at the Democratic Party, well, they had a minor dip in the year 2021. In the year 2001, they were at around 85% proud to be American. They have collapsed down to 27%. And a lot of it has to do with exactly what you're saying. The people that are coming to this country, the illegals, the pregnant tourists who plan on using anchor babies to get citizenship here, they're the ones that are voting Democrat, and it's very clear based on the numbers.
Yep. As a matter of fact, we did show that chart in our last episode. Now, the question that I really have here is why are these judges, which were appointed by Trump, seemingly and regularly siding with the woke left? Which, I mean, we see, the left doesn't have America's best interest in mind. So, like when you think about Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she's been voting regularly against Trump, against his common sense America First agenda, and that's a question that I have. Why? Now, recently there's been a statement about her life being threatened. Let's take a look at it before I get your thoughts on that.
So I thought I would just share a little bit about how the threats have affected me and my family personally. They have required me to, my children, to think about and see things that children should not have to see or think about. One example is when threats to my life were particularly intense a few years ago around the time of the Dobbs leak. My security detail sent me home with a bulletproof vest, and I carried it into my house, put it into my bedroom, dropped it down on a table, turned around, and my 12-year-old son was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and he wanted to know what it was and why I had it. And I didn't know how to respond because maybe I lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one. It's also been reported in the news that roughly 6 weeks ago, I was the victim of a swatting incident. One of my teenage sons opened the door to go out with friends and saw in our street, it was full of police cars who had responded to a false report of gunshots and raised voices in my home. I was very, very grateful that I had Supreme Court police outside my home because they were able to stop and meet with and explain to the county police that it had been a false alarm. And so the police did not actually attempt to enter our home. Many of us, me included, have received threatening anonymous deliveries designed to intimidate and harass us. They are often sent in the name of Judge Salas's son, who I think, as you mentioned in the beginning, Mr. Chairman, is deceased because he was killed by a disgruntled lawyer who showed up at Judge Salas's home intending to kill her, but her son, 20 years old at the time, opened the door and took the bullet instead. Her husband, standing behind, was seriously injured. So I think the message on these deliveries being sent in his name is clear. As Justice Kagan said, federal judges across the country, throughout the judiciary, including the Supreme Court, continue to do their jobs without fear or favor, but the threat level is really high.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the fact that our judges are getting death threats is not good. Death threats, any violent threats, I fully condemn. As you know, I have a channel and people disagree with my views sometimes. I'm okay with that. People are allowed to disagree with my views, present better points. And, getting death threats, it doesn't happen every day, but it does happen regularly enough for me that I'm kind of used to it now, which is kind of crazy to say. And I can only imagine the sheer number that she is getting relative to a small YouTuber like myself. I'm a political street comedian and entertainer. And if I'm getting them, I can't imagine what an actual lawmaker, a judge, is getting. And so I condemn that. I would imagine most of these are probably coming from the left. That's what I would imagine. I would imagine also maybe a small percentage are coming from the right. But regardless of where it's come from, it needs to be condemned.
Agreed. Now, the question that I have here, though, are these threats having an impact on her decision with these very, very important cases like the birthright citizenship that was just voted on last month?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few scenarios, right? One, people say that she was a plant this entire time. We do know when it comes to political parties and elections, sometimes you will have Democrats put an R in front of their name just to get into office. And then once they're in office, they'll actually reveal their true colors or they'll try to stifle the Republican agenda. So that could be one thing that happened. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what's happening with her, but that's definitely a possibility. The second thing is there could be threats happening behind the scenes that we're unaware of. And I think it's human nature to want to protect your family and protect your life first and foremost. And so who knows? I mean, these are both two possibilities. But I will say from a political standpoint, Amy Coney Barrett has been very, very disappointing, I think, to the Republican Party, to the conservatives, and of course, to President Donald Trump.
Funny that you mentioned that. That's our next video. Let's take a look at some of her decision-making processes over the past couple of years.
Again, considering the constant threat that she is under, it really begs the question, is she being forced to rule under duress? Now, really, it's hard to say. I don't know. I'm not in her brain, but I gotta tell you, the numbers certainly don't look great. Look at this chart right over here. Since the Dobbs decision, her alignment with her conservative colleagues has dropped quite dramatically, from ruling roughly around 80% with the other conservative justices to now down to the 50 to 60% range. That is a massive shift. It's not exactly hard to wonder that if the constant pressure, the threats, the intimidation, most of which, of course, is coming from the left post-Dobbs, is now playing a role in how she's voting on some of these cases.
So based on this video that we just finished watching, it appears to me that there's a shift in her voting decision, which based on, this birthright, back and forth, has potential severe consequences for our future country and the way that, that we are, right? I mean, what other area can someone commit a crime and be rewarded for it when we're talking about illegal immigration?
First of all, shout out to Liberal Hive Mind. That is one of my favorite channels. And I do want to say that Liberal Hive Mind is one of the channels that red pilled me and helped convert me from a Democrat to Republican. So shout out to Liberal Hive Mind. Now, I've never seen that chart before. This is my first time seeing it. And I got to say, that's pretty damn jarring. It looks like right before the Dobbs decision, she was kind of getting comfortable being a conservative judge and voting conservative 81% of the time. She was kind of in the swing of things and what we would have expected. And then, after that, to go down as low as 50%, she's basically a coin toss at this. She is a coin toss if she's going to align with conservatives or not. That's not a conservative judge. If you are an actual coin toss, you're not liberal anymore. You're not conservative anymore. And you're not liberal either. You're like a toss-up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's really, really jarring to see that chart. Very disappointing.
It is, and it goes. I mean, this is a very important subject matter, right? We're talking about birthright citizenship. We're talking about the decline of our country, right? And I think that and just like I finished mentioning, right? There's no other scenario. There's nothing that I can think of where you can break a law and get rewarded for it. Like if I robbed the bank, right, which is a federal crime, if I got away with it, do I get to keep the money? No, they're going to keep looking for me until I find it and take me to jail, right? And I think Charlie Kirk really just did a really good job here with this tweet from way back, the legendary Charlie Kirk. He goes, imagine if a pregnant lady broke into your house and had a baby in your living room and then says she now has legal right to stay in your house forever. That's how insane it is granting birthright citizenship to illegals. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, Charlie, we miss you dearly. Your 1 year when you were taken from us is coming up in a couple of months. And I do want to say that there is a Charlie Kirk quote for everything. So whenever there's a scenario that happens in the news, we know that Charlie Kirk had an opinion on it. And it's great that we can always pull those archives and see what he would have thought about that topic. Now, it is absolutely insane. This is a great analogy. There are a lot of countries around the world, like China, for example, and I believe Japan as well, where you cannot just go there pregnant, have a baby on their soil, and then suddenly you create a Japanese or Chinese citizen. It makes no sense to me. Two illegals should not be able to produce a citizen. It's basically two criminals get to produce one U.S. citizen. It makes no sense. I think that we have to have at least one parent be the U.S. citizen, and then maybe if the other one's illegal, fine, whatever. But at least if one parent's a U.S. citizen, that child is then tethered to the United States. And I think that if we have two legal immigrants, I think they should be allowed to produce an American citizen because they did the bare minimum of respecting our immigration laws. That to me is like the bare minimum. If you enter this U.S. and the first time you enter is on the wrong foot, why do you then get to be rewarded by creating an American citizen? And what's crazier is once a person's an American citizen, every child they have for the rest of their life and their children and their children and their children are all going to continue to be American citizens. So we've now created generations of American citizens based on, as you said, a criminal act.
Yep. Yeah, it's absolutely absurd for any country, to allow this to happen. If you don't penalize crime of any kind, it just emboldens people to commit more of that specific crime. And to be honest, the vast majority of the world heavily penalizes offenders who break into their country, as you pointed out, and we'll check out on this next video here.
Right? I think there's some very fast and loose interpretations of this. So basically, an illegal alien can come here to the United States and can give birth, and that kid is just as much of an American as George Washington was. I find that to be absolute nonsense. And just so you know, the United States is one of a very few number of countries that even have this. France does not have birthright citizenship. Ireland does not have birthright citizenship. Morocco does not have birthright citizenship. Italy does not have birthright citizenship. Greece does not have birthright citizenship. Japan does not have birthright citizenship. Bahrain does not have birthright citizenship. Saudi Arabia does not have birthright citizenship. Spain does not have birthright citizenship. Belgium does not have birthright citizenship. Netherlands does not have birthright citizenship. How long would you like me to go? Finland does not have birthright citizenship. Sweden does not have birthright citizenship, but the United States is expected to. The United States is expected to be the country where the third world can dump its garbage and people can have anchor babies. And if you think that's an insulting statement, you can pack up your Marxist ass and I will buy you a plane ticket to whatever gulag you belong into.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I mean, I was pulling up a list to see which countries don't have birthright citizenship and why can't we be one of those? She mentioned a few of them, but most of Europe, nearly all countries in Europe, they have conditional or limited forms of birthright, but none of them offer unrestricted jus soli. I guess that's the official word. Most countries in Asia, including, as I said, Japan, China, India, South Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, the Gulf states, Iran, Israel, Turkey, they don't have birthright citizenship. Africa, most countries, they don't have it. Oceania, Russia, Middle Eastern, they don't have birthright citizenship. Why do we? Look, I used to live in Thailand, all right? I love Thailand. I think Thailand is one of the greatest places to live on this planet Earth. The people there are incredible. The food is some of the best in the world, and the cost of living is extremely low. And everything else is pretty modern. You can find modern malls. You can find modern healthcare. You can find modern amenities. Thailand, to me, is top tier of where to live on this planet. I would love nothing more than to have a pregnant partner and we just go on vacation in Thailand, plop down, have a baby, and my child gets Thai citizenship. I would love nothing more than that. But guess what? You can't have it. It doesn't happen. And so the U.S. needs to be the same way.
Yeah, I agree. And, due to this unfortunate ruling from the woke side of the Supreme Court, the Trump administration is petitioning for them to hear the case again based on several examples of what appears to be organized fraud by foreign countries in order to obtain citizenship via a couple different methods. And let's take a look at just one example here.
A hospital in Texas is under investigation over a billboard campaign in Mexico advertising the hospital's childbirth packages and sparking concerns that they were, in essence, selling citizenship. Trump wrote in part on Truth Social this week, billions of dollars will be illegally made by this, with citizenship going to anyone willing to pay. Not sustainable. Nobody saw this coming. American citizenship is not for sale. The hospital behind it has maintained that they have done nothing wrong and says the campaign began back in 2021. They have since taken it down.
Two Valley hospitals now involved in a state investigation. The state wants to know why they are taking part in birth tourism. Thank you so much for joining us at 6. I'm Javier Guerra.
And I'm Christine Galvan. And for Dina, birth tourism means pregnant women travel to the United States and give birth here so their baby gets U.S. citizenship. The governor raised the issue last week and named one Valley hospital. Today, the second. Melissa Brandy is live in studio with today's update. Melissa.
Governor Abbott directed the Texas Health and Human Services Commission to investigate two Valley hospitals, Mission Regional Medical Center and Knapp Medical Center in Wesco. Both are owned by Prime Health. Governor Abbott said Mission Regional appeared to be advertising birth packages in South Texas and foreign countries and targeting foreign nationals. In a letter, he directed HHSC to investigate if any laws were broken. The investigation comes after this social media post made in April by Formo Valley Congresswoman in Mayra Flores. In it, she shares photos she claims she took of a billboard in Reynosa. The billboard appears to advertise childbirth packages at Mission Regional Medical Center.
A simple message on a billboard, now at the heart of a contentious investigation. Governor Greg Abbott sending this letter to the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, calling for an immediate investigation into the Mission Regional Medical Center, which sponsored the billboard, located just a few miles from Mexico, which he says is advertising birth packages in South Texas to foreign nationals in an apparent effort to profit from securing United States citizenship for their children.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like, so in America, these hospitals, these doctors, they've all taken an oath that they have to treat somebody for emergency care, whether or not they have the ability to pay or not, right? They have to treat the patient. So you have these people coming into our country, these birth tourists, these people coming in illegally. They go to the hospital to have a baby. That would be considered an emergency procedure. They have to help. They have to deliver the baby. And then when the illegals can't pay because they don't have insurance here, guess what? The hospital's still going to get paid from somebody. And it's typically going to be subsidized or paid for by either portion of the federal government, state government, local government. Hospitals are going to be made in full anyway. And so this is just people coming into our country, ripping off the American taxpayer. And it needs to end. This is crazy.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, I want to say 2017, between 2017 and 2019, there was reports of Russians doing this systematically, where they would send pregnant women here on purpose and give birth here so that their child born can get, citizenship, right? So this is a scam that's been going on for quite some time by several different players. As a matter of fact, Justice Alito wrote a dissent after that SCOTUS decision, where he kind of mentioned some of the dangers, national security wise, that their decision as a whole obviously implicates. And let's take a listen to some of the things that he said real quick before we go on to the next one.
This comes from Justice Alito, who brought this up during the arguments. This is his separate dissent. He said the court's interpretation also has national security implications. Suppose that a person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly return to her native country. Suppose that country is a strategic adversary or enemy of the United States. Suppose the child never visited the United States while growing up and was inculcated with hatred of this country. According to this court now, that person is a citizen of the United States. He can enter and leave the country as he pleases. He can travel the world on a United States passport. Even if he plots to harm this country, he cannot be deprived of his status as a citizen, at least under current precedent. He goes on to say that this decision today also provides a powerful incentive to enter or remain in this country illegally. He goes on to say, in my judgment, the court has made a mistake that will seriously affect the country's future.
So based on what Justice Alito laid out, I mean, I think he's absolutely correct. And it's directly linked, in my eyes, to the lack of patriotism and the decline of it that we just, we saw that you mentioned earlier on. I mean, we have people that have dual allegiance, right? They have an allegiance to a foreign country versus the country that they're born in, which is here. How can we assure that these people won't eventually become spies for the other country? I mean, when it comes to communism, maybe you don't know directly. You might know it from reading history books or whatever. But when it comes to communism, the government is their God. And, just evil knows no bounds. And what communist governments will go to, like the length that they'll go to achieve their goal, I mean, it's unprecedented. So I do think that Justice Alito is absolutely correct in his concern and what he wrote here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we need to put an end to this. A lot of these people have no loyalty to the U.S. I mean, I go out and I interview people all the time on the street. And, I went to Nashville. This was a couple months ago. And I interviewed a young Mexican-American woman. And this video went viral. And she was talking about, she saw us wearing the MAGA hats. And she was talking about ICE and Trump. She says, ICE and Trump is deporting my people. And I said, hold on. What exactly does that mean, my people? Like, weren't you born in America? She said, yeah, I was born in America, but my people are Mexicans. And I'm like, no, your people are Americans. Like, I'm your people. That black guy down the street's your people. That Asian guy's your. If we're all Americans, doesn't matter what skin color we are. What unites us is the citizenship, the flag that we stand behind.
Correct.
And she was just like, no, those aren't my people. And it's like, you even have people that are born here, right? And they weren't instilled with the values of America, the American flag. I love this country. They're born here, and you have people like that. So you can only imagine. And she did spend time here growing up too as a kid. But you can imagine the case of someone who's born here and then spent no time here until they've been indoctrinated overseas by either a communist country or a country that hates us, and then, you know, one of the Middle Eastern countries that hates us. And then they come back as an adult, and we expect them to be an American citizen loyal to our flag. That's not what happens. Alito's right.
Correct. And I did play that video, that specific one that you're mentioning in the last episode. I forgot to tag you on it. But yeah, I mean, I've heard that stuff throughout my entire life. And that's a big thing within the Hispanic community that I've constantly called out. It's that, you know, there's an allegiance to another country and it's not here. So then what are you doing here? And a lot of these people, they're here for the benefits, you know, whether they get them, you know, for free or they work for it, right? Because they don't have the same opportunities back in their own country. But darn, love this country then, support this country, and they don't. A lot of these people, what they'll do is they'll make their funds here, they'll send it back home, they'll build a mansion over there, and then eventually, you know, maybe they go back. I don't know, but it's clearly they're not investing and they're not loyal here. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I've met a lot of people that, you know, I've met a few Latinos, people from all different countries I met, that they plan on coming here, they plan on making the money from the U.S., and they plan on retiring overseas, which again, I get it. Overseas is a lot cheaper. It's a lot more affordable. I mean, I can actually understand that part, but you're right. They're also sending a lot of money out of the country while they're still living here. And that's moving money out of our economy, sending it to other people. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of that, you know, too much. I get retiring abroad because I'll be honest, when I'm of that age, I plan on also living abroad just to make your money last while you're, you know, in the final years of your life. But one thing that's really interesting is, so I was born in Mexico. I was adopted when I was a newborn. So I don't have birthright citizenship. I was naturalized as a toddler. And for 42 years of my life, I've been an American citizen. I've been a proud American citizen. I've only had an American passport. I only wave the American flag. I found out about 3 weeks ago, and I can't believe I didn't know this. This is ridiculous. I found out 3 weeks ago that because I was born in Mexico, Mexico also has jus soli, meaning when you're born on that land I believe it's just born in that land, or it's to Mexican citizens, because I had Mexican parents. I am a citizen of Mexico. I just found out 3 weeks ago. So my entire life, I've had dual citizenship, and I didn't know this. I've always visited Mexico as a tourist. So I'd always go there with my American passport. I'd always fill out the forms. I'd always leave when I'm supposed to leave. And I just found out 3 weeks ago that I never had to do any of that. I could have just gone to the Orlando consulate, got my passport, my Mexican passport, and I could have just gone to Mexico as a citizen. So I just found that out. That's definitely been a very, very disorienting experience. But at the end of the day, like, I didn't grow up in Mexico. I don't really know the Mexican culture as far as like living in it, right? And so to me, my loyalty is to the United States of America. This is where I grew up. This is where I made my money, my career. This is where it raised me. That's the culture I'm in. And I will continue to wave the American flag proudly. And if I'm in Mexico and I got my citizenship, then I'll wave the Mexican flag when I'm out there. But if I'm in the U.S., it should be the American flag first. It should be the biggest, highest.
Amen. You know what's interesting is as you're saying the story, I'm remembering at some point in my youth. I don't know if it was in my middle teens or later teens, but I remember my dad was talking about having a dual citizenship in Peru. And I remember, and this is way before I got into politics or anything like that. And I do think it was before even 9/11. But I'm like, dual citizenship to belong to another country. I'm like, you know what? That doesn't sound good to me. I don't want to be a citizen of another country. I love my country. You know, so the idea of having dual citizenship, I'm not saying it's wrong, but for me, I just felt something internal saying, no, I don't want that. I just want to be American, and I'm fine with that. You know.
Well, do you have it, dual citizenship?
No.
But are you eligible for it?
Yes. Yeah.
Then you are a dual citizen already, whether or not you get the paperwork or not.
Oh, I mean, I guess. I don't know.
You are. Like
I
for
didn't
me,
bother looking into it.
I don't have a Mexican passport. I have nothing right now. I have my birth documents and I have my adoption papers, so I can prove.
You were born over there, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I am a dual citizen, whether or not I have any documents to show that I'm a dual citizen. That's what I've learned. I am a dual citizen, even though I currently don't have any formal proof of my citizenship. Like I don't have a passport. But once I go down to the consulate, it's just a formality. I'll get the passport and then boom. Hey guys, I have dual citizenship. But I'll tell you the reason why for me, I think it's interesting and why it's somewhat important for me to get it is because, as you know, I've had health issues for the past 4 years that I face with kidney failure and now a transplant. And, while American healthcare is absolutely phenomenal, I've had a great experience. I speak very highly of the American healthcare system. I will admit, though, the insurance here is very messy. There's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape that you kind of have to go through. But once you figure that out, our healthcare system is pretty damn good. Mexico, Mexico is a socialist kind of country. It's got a lot of socialism there. And they're actually releasing or launching in 2027 a brand new universal healthcare program for all citizens. And so for me, given my health concerns, I do think it would be of benefit to me to have dual citizenship proof, to have some type of insurance in both countries. I think that could be something that's beneficial for me. But of course, I don't plan on ever being leached into any system. I definitely want to contribute. I want to earn my way. And I feel like when I visit Mexico, which I've spent a lot of time in Mexico as an adult, I've done that. I go out to eat a lot. I support the local economy a lot. I tip well when I'm out there. And so I know that I'm giving back to the community financially and I'm contributing. I'm not a leech to the system. I'm not taking their tax dollars. I've always contributed to Mexico as a visitor and as a tourist. But that's just something interesting that, I found out about.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's good.
Yeah.
So, now that we're mentioning all this stuff, let's go back. Did you, by any chance, happen to see yesterday Trump's announcement?
With the voters and everything
Yes.
and the fraud?
Yeah. So President Trump last night called out the CCP for its interference in our election process, favoring the Democratic Party, right? They knew they didn't want him in office, right? So to me, I don't get how this isn't an act of war, but I understand why we can't go there at this moment with China. But I think this is a very serious situation. Additionally, which is something that we can control, is that he said there were over, 278,000 non-citizens registered to vote in our federal elections, which some might say that's a small number, but that number is mainly from red states, since the blue ones refuse to hand over their data. Let's just take a listen real quick, and then I'll get your thoughts on that.
Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail.
I was laughing at Trump. He's so funny, man. Yeah, this is crazy. It's just like all the stuff that we were saying in 2020, all of it ended up being true. We were right about the illness. We were right about the shots. We're right about the election. Something happened in 2020. Something very bad happened. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at some of the documents, but Freedom and Whiskey had a video she just put up yesterday. She started going through the documents, and she found out that in those documents, there's evidence that China was apparently working with influencers. They probably, what's interesting? They probably had like shell companies and shell layers. So that way, these influencers probably didn't even know that they were being paid by China. They probably had no idea. And they said that some of their key tactics were to stir the idea that white people hate black people. So they wanted to keep that racism narrative alive in order to divide, which, let's be honest, according to what I've seen on social media, I mean, look, if you look at the crime stats, it doesn't back up the narrative. Most black people are killed by other black people, not by white people. I don't think there's a lot of hatred in this country anymore by white people towards black people. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but apparently China was trying to make it seem like there is. China was also trying to, and this is all alleged, let's be honest, this is all alleged. China was allegedly trying to make it seem like the police have animosity towards black people, which, again, not true. You look at the data, it's not true. Black people just happen to have a higher rate of encounters with the police. And so things sometimes go wrong when you don't comply and follow orders and you say, F the police. But it's just interesting that like they were doing all this information war on us. You used the word war earlier. They were doing a lot of information war on us, and it's been very effective on the left. It's been very effective on the left.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I'm not sure. Now, obviously, he's trying to push the Save America Act, right, which is going to have, people prove that they're a citizen, right? Voter ID and stuff like that, which, I mean, I don't understand if we have, and I mean, I know it's rhetorical, but we have control of the White House, we have control of the Senate, we have control of the House of Representatives. Why can't we get the darn thing passed? It just doesn't. It's so stupid that we have, and it's not stupid that we can't get it passed because I know we have a slight majority. What's stupid is that we have our own people within our own party not voting for it. You know what I'm saying? That's the stupid part. We constantly got the never Trumpers and the rhinos. And to your point, like you mentioned before, we have people that are Republicans and they really should have a D in front of their name.
Yeah, what's interesting is like when you look at the polling data, even Democratic voters, they want voter ID. The majority of them want voter ID, and yet the politicians vote against it. So they're not even doing what their constituents want them to do.
Yep. And now, so I've heard a recent rumor, and I haven't been able to dig into it, but I heard that Susan Collins, who is usually one of those coin tosses, right? We don't know which way she's going to go, is rumored to be voting yes on this, which gives us the path that we're going to need to get this through. I don't know. What have you heard anything about that?
No, but I do see on the Maine Democratic Party website, maindems.org, there's a letter written on March 31st, 2026. Letter, Susan Collins wrong to support the Save America Act. So it looks like the Democrats of Maine are calling out Susan Collins for backing or saying she will back the Save Act. Of course, the Democrats are claiming that this would create unnecessary barriers to voting. What's their favorite expression? This would disenfranchise voters and make it harder for Mainers. I didn't know that's what they were called, Mainers. I think I don't know. I don't like Mainers. I don't think that sounds good. To participate in elections, even though voter fraud is virtually non-existent. Of course, the party that's allegedly committing the voter fraud is also saying that voter fraud is virtually non-existent. I think Trump proved that last night. That's not true. It is very existent.
And I think that this is a positive in the sense that Susan Collins might not feel the pressure from the Democrats as much because based on their debate that they had just last night, which was a clown show, it doesn't seem like there's anybody strong enough to really challenge her in the general. Boy, that was something else, let me tell you.
That a trans woman, Ashley Webb. I mean, that was. Look, I'm not trying to make fun, But when you are a biological man who thinks they're a woman, but yet you still look like a biological man, and you get on stage and you tell the TV that I would never lie to the people and I would never deceive the people, and that's out of like a comedy movie. Like I was just like, is this real life, or is this like the Wedding Crashers? It seemed like that would fit so perfectly in like a Wedding Crashers type of like comedy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the incoherent response that this individual gives, what makes you qualified to be a Senate? Well, I write my own fan fiction. I've run for office several times, though I haven't run. I write my own stories. I write my own music. Like, what does that have to do with what the question is? It's one of the worst answers I've ever heard, one of the worst political answers. And here's the interesting part to me. I mean, I saw this individual's, the look in their eyes and their face. It just doesn't scream warmth. It doesn't scream trust me. It screams like, honestly, something in the eye. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're, right in line with the people that have attacked churches and schools and stuff like that. Like the individual does not look normal. And I don't mean that from a biological sense. I'm talking about up here, right?
Well, there's videos now going viral of this person celebrating their birthday by themselves. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a video of Ashley Webb, who is lighting a cupcake for themselves, and he's just like basically saying like gentle nothings to the cupcake, and it's really just a creepy, bizarre video. Like if you saw that video, you would look at it and be like, someone needs to be called, and this person needs to be put on a watch list.
Yeah. That's what I told my wife today. I'm like, I think the FBI should have him on a watch list, because I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen this. I don't know if it's a story, a meme, but there was a guy who identified like as a 3-year-old girl. It's like we're talking about like a 60-something-year-old man, and he's dressed with a pacifier and all this stuff. And I mean, the look in his eyes, the look in his face, you could tell that guy's not altogether with it. And I saw that same look in this individual. And
I think it's a combination of SSRIs and cross-sex hormones. Just fueling this like vacant stare that they have.
Yeah. Now here's the interesting part. Since Trump is trying to get the decision that SCOTUS did, he's trying to get SCOTUS to revisit it. I don't know how much success he's going to have in there, but there are some GOP senators who are trying to propose legislation that might help a little bit more with this birthright citizenship thing. Let's take a look at the next video that I got for you.
Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno is on the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and he has a plan to fix this problem once and for all. Now, Senator, it's great to see you tonight. As I understand it, you think you can solve this issue with birthright citizenship by using inspiration from kind of an unlikely source, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Explain that to us.
Yeah, so Laura, in 1993, Harry Reid, a hardcore Democrat at the time, came up with a bill that had 10 points, one of which was clarifying that birthright citizenship does not apply to foreign-born parents. You have to be an American citizen on American soil for that to apply. This bill also, by the way, cracked down on the numbers of asylum seekers. It cracked down on human smuggling. It massively tightened our borders and really hit employers hard who hired illegals. I'm going to introduce, when I get back from recess on July 13th, the identical bill. And Laura, what it's going to do is highlight two things. The Democrats of today are nothing like the Democrats of 1993. And if they choose to reject a bill sponsored by their majority leader that they named an airport in Las Vegas after, then I think to my Republican colleagues, we have no choice. We have to recognize that these Democrats want to systematically destroy this country. So what does that mean? We have to eliminate the filibuster and get this thing done.
So listen, based on how divided our political leaders are and the disloyalty that certain Republicans have, which we just mentioned, I'm not hopeful that any bill of this nature is going to pass. What are your thoughts?
I mean, look, it's just very frustrating that it hasn't passed yet. And he's right. I just looked up the bill from Harry Reid from 1993. I think that's the one he's referring to. And this guy, Harry Reid, my first time hearing about him was a Democrat. And when you read this bill, I believe this is the same bill they're talking about. It was called the, let me see, Bill S-1351, Immigration Stabilization Act of 1993. I'm reading this right now, and this sounds like a Republican of today wrote this. This is how far the Democratic Party has changed. And I'm reading this, and this is common sense immigration policy and reform that this goes against everything the Democrats stand for. The Democrats today are about open borders, decriminalization, unlimited asylum seeking, maximum diversity. Doesn't matter where they're from or if they're even compatible with Western society. Look, at the end of the day, there are some people out there in this world that are not compatible with our country.
Correct.
I don't know if you saw the video, and I'm not going to go into too many details about it because it's traumatizing. But for example, there was a village in China, a very small village somewhere in China, and there were these young boys, probably teenagers. I don't know if you saw this story. And they saw this stray dog. Her name was Wang Wang. She was a 1-year-old stray dog, probably weighed about 10 pounds. So she was a small breed, looked like a long-haired Chihuahua mix, maybe a bit of a Pomeranian, beautiful, beautiful dog. She had 4 puppies. And what the boys decided to do, these teenage Chinese boys decided to kill the 2-week-old puppies in front of the mother. They forced the mother to watch. The mother watched the 4 puppies get killed. And then they decided to tie a wire around the mother's neck. They dragged her through the streets while they hit her with sticks. She wagged her tail. She went on her back to show that she was passive. She did everything that she thought she was supposed to do to stay safe, to see her babies. And instead, they doused her with gasoline. They lit her on fire. She struggled for 30 minutes. At the end of the 30 minutes, she was still alive. They said in Chinese, "Why won't this stupid dog die?" And in a final act, the mother crawled over to her babies and licked them and gave them one final kiss before she finally died. And to make things worse, the village is now defending the boys. There's now rumors that this village in China sells these kind of videos online to people that like to watch little dogs and cats get abused and killed. And now the parents of these boys, who apparently own a restaurant, now have altered their menu to claim that they now have dishes serving that mother dog's meat. They're calling it the Wang Wang special. So I want to give a very big shout out to Wang Wang. We will never forget you. We are going to stand for you, and we're going to speak up for you, and we're going to hope that you get justice. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the story is this culture? I'm not talking about China as a whole, to be clear, because there are people in China that do love dogs, and they do treat dogs like family. But there are pockets in China, in these remote villages, that don't do that. Did these 4 boys and their parents and this village, did they deserve to come to the U.S.? They are incompatible with Western modern civilization. So I just want to bring up Wang Wang because she needs more awareness in the U.S. And they don't belong here. We are not compatible with all cultures. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, those are sociopathic tendencies, in my opinion. But to what you alluded to just now, and what this senator also said was how far the Democrats have changed from the 90s. I've pointed that out several times throughout several videos since I started this channel. They've flipped on just about every stance. And when did that flip start? It started during the Obama years. You go back to before Obama, and a lot of these Democrats like Chuck Schumer were saying, hey, illegal immigration is bad. It hurts legal immigrants. It hurts U.S. citizens. And now it's open borders. It's all this stuff that they're advocating for. They have switched so completely that they used to be for the middle class, and now they're trending for socialism, and they're electing socialists within their party. It's just unbelievable how much they've changed.
And I said to a guy I met earlier today, I met him for coffee, and I said to him, it's funny. The Republican strategy today, what it seems like, is just say the common sense thing first. For example, here's a common sense thing. Only women can get pregnant. I think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everyone in the world would have agreed with that. But because the Democrats' stance today is anti-Trump, anti-Republican, if we say the common sense thing first, they have to take the opposite stance. So when we say only women can get pregnant, their stance has to be, no, that's not true. Men can also get pregnant. When we say we should have a controlled border and vet everybody that comes in. Their stance then has to be the border should be open and not anybody should be vetted. So it forces the Democrats into these really strange positions that their politicians then have to get on debate stages and they have to repeat those talking points. So that's the Republican strategy. Say the common sense thing first.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. Here's the bottom line, though, and to back to your point, how frustrating this all is. When you look at the amount of abuse that is happening with birthright citizenship, the fraud. I mean, we're talking about adoptions, tourism. There's so many different types of ways, arranged marriages. Heck, I remember when I was an older teen, my dad was trying to do that. He was trying to get me to marry some girl in Peru, and they were going to pay me $8,000. And I did it from a moral perspective that I didn't want to have a divorce on my belt, right? I wasn't even thinking about the law, because I was young. I was like about 18 years old, and so I was like, no, I just don't want to have a divorce. But if you think about all these types of things that are happening, it's an abuse to our system, and what it's doing, it is contributing to the decline that we're seeing in this country as far as love, as far as patriotism, as far as loyalty. And then what happens is our society has declined.
Yeah, we're in what's called moral decay, cultural decay. We have no morality anymore as a society. Individuals still do. But as a society, we're promoting all the wrong things. We're promoting morbid obesity. We're promoting, kids changing their body through surgery and hormones. All of these things were frowned upon just 15 years ago. And now these are all very normal parts of the Democratic Party. And, I always say that the Democratic Party is the true party of racism, because you go online and you look at these white liberal women that are in their cars, right? Because for some reason, white liberal women love doing videos in cars. And they'll say things to Black people: do not let your children hang out with white people. Do not let your Black kids hang out with white kids, because white kids are dangerous. There is no data to support what these white liberal women are saying. And so we're just living in these we're living in crazy times, man. And a lot of it seems to be on the left.
We are. And the thing that frustrates me the most, again, I'm first generation American. What frustrates me is how we've got to be accepting and tolerant of everybody else's cultures, but then our culture has to take the back burner, or it's offensive. Your flag is offensive. Your American patriotism is offensive. You celebrate Christmas, that's offensive. Dude, we were looking for VPK schools for our daughter. She's starting now. And there was a school that says, we're not allowed to serve pork and we don't celebrate the holidays here. I'm like, what? And then I looked at the demographics.
They don't serve pork?
No, they don't serve pork.
Look,
and when I looked at all the kids there, I understood why. And it frustrated me. I'm like, you see, this is the problem why I'm even now at this point, I'm against legal immigration, because we've got people here coming and they're trying to change our way of life, trying to change our culture, our customs, even our language, And so at this point, I only want people who love this country and are loyal to it. If you don't, and if there's something that bothers you, whether we say Merry Christmas, if our flag bothers you, if our language, don't come here. Don't come here. Leave. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to just say this. I'm a pork eater. I eat bacon. I love bacon. I also acknowledge that pigs are smarter than dogs. I also acknowledge that pigs have feelings, complex thoughts. They can actually be trained more than a dog could. So one of my own personal moral dilemmas is the fact that I eat pork. I really don't want to eat pork anymore because I have a soft spot for pigs. I'm a hypocrite. I admit that. But it's not for religious reasons. I'm not doing it for religious reasons. And I'm not out here trying to ban other people. At the end of the day, bacon is a core part of American cuisine and culture. I can't think of anything more American than a bacon cheeseburger on a 4th of July or a hot dog. Like, those are two of the American staples that are going to be around, hopefully, for the rest of eternity when it comes to American culture, right? That's just part of the culture. Ideally, though, in the future, at some point, I know that you might not even agree with this, or your audience might not agree with this, but if we could use science to replicate pork in a lab without killing pigs, that would be a great solution, in my opinion. All right, if we can make pork, because I really don't think that we should be doing that to pigs or really any animals, because I'm not a vegan. For the record, for your audience, I'm not a vegan. I eat meat. I'm a meat eater. I had steak, pork, and chicken and shrimp today. All right, I ate a lot of meat today, but I can understand the vegan argument pretty damn well. My point is this, though. Yeah, for a whole school to ban pork because, and I'm guessing they have a Muslim population. Is that what it is?
I couldn't tell, but maybe the owners were Muslims. I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
It must be a Muslim population because we had hot dogs growing up. We had hot dogs. Yeah, no, that sounds like a weird school. I wouldn't want to send my kid there.
Yeah, and they don't celebrate holidays. So it's like, wait, you're in America and you're not celebrating the holidays that we celebrate? That's that type of stuff that drives me nuts. So to be quite frank, I hope that something gets done because we cannot keep importing or allowing people to come in here that want to change this country and mimic where they came from. I don't want that. And I'll stand and continue to fight against that, to be quite frank.
Yeah, it's disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. Like when I moved to Thailand, I remember, I went to Thailand. I just showed up with my dogs. I don't know anything about the country really. I just showed up. And I remember one day I went to the basketball court to play basketball in the middle of Bangkok. I believe it was called Benjasiri Park, a great big park. We're playing basketball. All of a sudden, I'm dribbling the basketball, and it was one of the freakiest moments of my life. I'm dribbling the basketball in the middle of a game, and all of a sudden, every single person in the entire park, I'm talking about runners, people that are lifting, people on the court playing basketball with me, they all just freeze in place. Everyone just freezes in place. I'm like, what the hell? I'm looking around like, what the hell is going on here? I had no idea. Then all of a sudden, something over the speaker starts playing. It sounds like some kind of anthem. It turns out at 6 p.m. every day, the people stop and pause and show respect to the national anthem to honor the king at 6 p.m. every day. I didn't know this. No one told it to me. But what do you think I did? What do you think I did, Carlos? Do you think I kept playing basketball, or do you think I stopped? I assimilated instantly. I looked around, I go, I better stand still too. I want to be the outsider here. That is the respect that I gave to Thai people and Thailand, even though I had no idea what the context was. I had no idea why I was doing it, but I said to be the outsider here would be considered rude. I want immigrants that come here and behave the way I did. You might not know why we're doing it. You might not get it, but get in line and then figure out after why you're doing that and why we do those things. Immigrants should come here, embrace our culture, and assimilate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my friend, we are at the hour mark. I want to thank you for, coming onto the channel and gracing us with your presence. It's always great. It's been a while since we've hung out. So hopefully we'll get to touch base again. Any last words that you want to share with the audience?
No, I just, obviously I love coming on and shooting the crap with you. I'm going to use that word instead of the S word. I love talking to you about this kind of stuff, and you had a lot of great videos that we got to react to, so that was pretty damn cool. And if you guys do want to see my videos, you could just search Adam Francisco on all platforms, and I hope that you guys stay entertained by my content.
All right, and for that, we are signing off. Thank you for joining us, and I just want to say God bless you guys, God bless America, and let's continue to keep fighting. Take care.
And God bless Trump.
And God bless Trump.